Today I want to give a brief update for my channel. I did one when I hit 200 subscribers, and I recently, in the past week, made 400 subscribers. So thank you for everybody who has subscribed. I started this channel just on a whim to see if this is something I would enjoy doing, sharing my enthusiasm, talking about movies, which is something I love to do. And but it's a very low-tech channel. I don't rely at all on audio and visual aids. Sometimes I think I should jazz it up a little bit. And I'm talking about a lot of overlooked and underrated movies. And I do a lot of single movie videos where I try to, average out around 10-minute videos, so they're not too long. And I'm pretty much going to do the same thing going forward, and picking and choosing from new releases from Criterion and Kino Lorber, some boutique labels that I really like Fun City, Flicker Alley, and in the United States now we have access to Arrow and Indicator new releases, and so more money to spend, and very easy to get now. I mean, I ordered an Indicator title, and I got it the next day through Amazon. And in 2021, I did a series on the films of Frank Borzage and also on Masaki Kobayashi. I really enjoyed doing those. It's so much fun, and you learn a lot. Hopefully, I imparted some of that enthusiasm and what I learned, but I also did an unplanned one on the comedies, the 1930s comedies of Claudette Colbert. I think it did like 7 or 8. And again, unplanned because Kino Lorber was releasing all these Colbert comedies from the 1930s that had not been released on Blu-ray before. And kicking around ideas what to do this year. I read a lot of novels, and oftentimes I like to go back 50 years or 100 years and read a couple novels from in kind of an anniversary form. In physical release, you get special editions, the 50th anniversary edition, and I know we're getting The Godfather, and that Godfather is by far the dominant movie of 1972, both awards and box office. I think it was double the next highest grossing movie that was released in 1972, which I think was The Poseidon Adventure. And then I looked at in Wikipedia the 1972 in films, and I thought, boy, this might be interesting to pick out some 1972 movies and talk about them and look at them as, do they deserve a special edition? But even more so, what was there in 1972? Where were you in 72? I know 2 nights a week probably I was in a movie theater watching new releases. On the weekend I'd be haunting the repertory theaters in New York City. So I saw most of the major releases. I was amazed how many I had seen 50 years ago. But this isn't going to be a nostalgic trip, or I'm not going to say anything profound about any of these movies, but I like history, and it does. Movies reflect times that they're lived in, especially Hollywood movies, because they're commercial. They have to make some sort of connection with an audience so they can make enough money, because these are expensive works of art. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll do it. I'll group them into by genre: westerns and horror films, science fiction. And I probably went a little bit overboard in my ambition, but we'll see how far it goes. So that's the way I'm going to do it, maybe 3 to 6 movies in each genre. And in looking over the films in 1972, there are a number of surprises. I think the biggest surprise was how male-centric Hollywood films were in 1972. I mean, just about every film was about men and their struggle to be, find their masculinity, and hardly any movies featured women as the star, no less an important co-star. And I was surprised as well. It was at least 15 westerns in 1972 that were released. Got wide release. Jeremiah Johnson, in fact, a Robert Redford movie, western. That was, I think, number 5 in the box office for 1972. So westerns were not dead. Hollywood westerns were not. Certainly, the spaghetti westerns were in their heyday. And I was also surprised how many movies could be called black cinema in 1972. This was the second year probably of blaxploitation. 71 was Shaft and Sweetback's Badass Song. In 72, Superfly with Ron O'Neal was, I think, the most successful of the blaxploitation movies. But there was also more or less traditional type movies like Sounder, Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross playing Billie Holiday. There wasn't a whole lot of science fiction movies. Silent Running, which starred Bruce Dern, directed by Douglas Trumbull, who recently passed away, I think, about a week ago, and he had done the special effects on 2001. And Ground Star Conspiracy with George Peppard. Hopefully I'll be able to find that one. And if there's any movies from 1972 that you guys like, they're your favorites, you might actually even want me to comment on, please leave that in the comments. I'd be fascinated to know what you guys' take is on that in 1972. And then in horror, there was a famous release in horror, and that was The Last House on the Left. And that was, I don't know if that was the granddaddy of the real gory horror films. I know it turned me off. I went to see it in the movies. I like horror. I always like more or less psychological horror with a minimum of gore. But I'm going to look back at that for sure to see what it looks like today. It might be considered rather tame by modern standards, because that was, obviously gore and horror in general is one of the driving forces of the popularity of physical releases. Brian De Palma's Sisters was also in 1972. In comedy, the big hit comedy was What's Up, Doc, with Ryan O'Neal, Barbra Streisand, Peter Bogdanovich directed film that's sort of like a updating of Bringing Up Baby. The big miss, the big gap here is probably my favorite comedy from 1972, which was The Heartbreak Kid with Charles Grodin. And that's not on Blu-ray, and I think I looked up to see if that was streaming anywhere. I don't think it's streaming either, and I've read somewhere that the people who own the rights to Heartbreak Kid made a fortune on the rights to the remake, and they're seeking an equal time fortune for the Blu-ray. European films were big in 1972. There was a whole circuit of art film theaters in every major city and in some smaller cities as well. Ingmar Bergman's Cries and Whispers was probably the most dominant European film in 1972. My favorite was probably Louis Buñuel's jaunty surrealist classic, The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeois. 72 was also the year of Last Tango in Paris, which was very controversial. I don't know if it got a rating. If it did, it was X-rated. I had to see it in Philadelphia. I can distinctly remember standing around the block in line on a Sunday afternoon to go see Last Tango, because I don't think it ever appeared in the Jersey suburbs, which is kind of strange because 72 is also the year of Deep Throat and hardcore pornography hitting the mainstream. And I think Deep Throat was on the top 10 box office list for 1972. In action movies, The Getaway with Steve McQueen, directed by Sam Peckinpah. Deliverance, that was one of my favorite films I know in 1972, a movie that showed that Burt Reynolds wasn't just a star, he was as well an actor. He's very good in Deliverance. And there's some oddball movies too that I'll just do a section of oddball movies. Images, Robert Altman's Images, that could probably be called a horror film. Bob Raffleson's King of Marvin Gardens, with a very atypical role performance by Jack Nicholson. I'm really keen to, that was a big bomb at the box office, but It was Raffleson Nicholson's follow-up to Five Easy Pieces, which was not, was a big success for both of them. So, and then I was looking through the list of 1972 in literature, and I found 10 books that were, I think, pretty much bestsellers. I probably read 7 or 8 of them that were soon to be motion pictures, and some of them were kind of interesting. Michael Crichton's Terminal Man, which became a film with George Segal. Crichton was in the early days of his bestsellerdom. Michael Crichton novels went right to the top of the bestseller list when they were first released. I don't know if he's read anymore. And there was Ira Levin's The Stepford Wives. I read that, and I probably one sitting. And Ira Levin also wrote the novel for Rosemary's Baby, and also I highly recommend that novel. Even if you've seen the movie, the novel is terrific too. Hunter Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas came out in '72. That took a while to come out on the movies. Terry Gilliam's version with Johnny Depp. And one other I want to mention, that's a novel by P.D. James, who was a mystery writer, best-selling mystery writer, Adam Dalgliesh detective, which was made into a popular television series as well. I don't think this is a Dalgliesh novel. It's called An Unsuitable Job for a Woman. And that was made the movie version of that was made in 1982. And the title sounded familiar to me, and sure enough, I looked up, I was looking to see what Indicator was releasing on February 22nd. That movie is actually coming out on, Indicator's releasing this movie for the first time, I think, on physical release in just a couple of weeks. Okay, so again, anybody who has some recommendations from 1972 or just your favorite films outside of The Godfather. I know The Godfather is the granddaddy of 1972, the ultimate, but other movies that don't have the fame of The Godfather, and some that you might want me to comment on. I'm going to start with the Westerns. In fact, I think there's 4 of them right in the back, and I've got another one too that I've actually already filmed the video for that one, and I'm gonna do them consecutively, so they'll be like one a day, I think, probably for the next few days, and then I'll probably go on to Black Cinema, as this is Black History Month. Again, I can't see everything. I wish I could, but I can't afford everything. And there's a whole lot of movies that from 1972 really hard to come by, only on streaming or overpriced DVDs. Okay, so again, thanks a lot for everybody listening to me. Thanks again for everybody who subscribed to my channel. I really do appreciate it. You guys take care.